Hey everyone, it's Rich Tola, and thanks for tuning in to Tola Talks, my 21st century talk for a no bullshit world. Because who doesn't want to give thanks for having food on the table, a roof over their head, and living in freedom? For those of us in North America especially, we're celebrating Thanksgiving today. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And speaking of which, I want to give a special shout out to my family, my loved ones back east, gathering at Pam's today. Happy Thanksgiving. Miss you guys, especially my nieces and nephews. And in the words of Grandma Lucy Tola, keep pitching, just like your Uncle Richard. Keep it up, guys. Everyone out there, hope you're enjoying the day. So we're going to get started today. Today's Throwback Thursday, so we're going to throw back to 1621. That's the first account of the Feast of Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about that a little bit later today. And because we're evolving this show, you guys know we spent 60 shows, 3 months over at LA Talk Radio. A lot of fun over there, kind of radio style. This now with the YouTube style, kind of integrating the camera. So bear with me these first few weeks as we evolve the show. Might be about 20 minutes. We're going to go about 20 minutes today. Keep it short and sweet for you. And if you want to check out those previous episodes or previous shows, I keep calling them episodes like a podcast, but they are shows. You can go to my website, richtola.com. You got all 60 shows on there on my blog. We also have the Rich Picks, right? The best of the best. I have 25 Rich Picks out there and some live music for all the musicians that were there. So check it out. Also follow me on the social media at Rich Tola. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Gonna have some fun with that. Well, we like to get started with some celebrity birthday shout-outs. Who are we talking about? Happy birthday. Kathryn Bigelow is 63 today. Director, producer. What I love about Kathryn is one of my favorite movies of all time, Point Break. Remember that? Point Break from 1991 with Patrick Swayze, rest in peace, and Keanu Reeves and Gary Busey. Keanu Reeves was Johnny Utah. Remember Lori Petty? Oh, I loved her in that. Yeah, Kathryn Bigelow, well known. You might know her from The Hurt Locker, right? Or Zero Dark 30. So she's awesome. Happy birthday to you, Kathryn, 63. And here's a couple of R.I.P. happy birthdays. One of the greatest, Jimi Hendrix. He was born Johnny Allen Hendrix. He would have been 72 today, right? One of the most influential electric guitarists of all time, right? Of all time of popular music. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, was inducted in 1992. And they describe him as arguably the greatest instrumentalist in the history of rock and roll. No doubt, lefty. He was born in Seattle, Washington. Began playing the guitar at the age of 15. Got to start young, no matter what you do. And his career only lasted about 4 years. From 1967 to 1970, when he died of an accidental overdose at the age of 27. One of the greats, and he was discovered in late 1966 by the bassist Chaz Chandler of The Animals. So rest in peace to our man Jimi Hendrix, and who else? Rest in peace, who would have been 74 today. One of the greatest of all time martial artists, Bruce Lee. He was born Lee Jun Fan. And he's a Hong Kong martial artist, actor, film. Everybody knows him from his amazing martial arts films. He was also a martial arts instructor, and he founded the art of Jeet Kune Do. We'll talk a little bit about that, but he's definitely one of the most influential martial artists of all time. He was born in Chinatown in San Francisco, but then he grew up in Kowloon. Kowloon is right across the bay. I spent some time in Hong Kong, so I know Kowloon. Pretty cool trip right across the bay there. And he originated this Jeet Kune Do in 1967. Why? Because he wanted to develop a system that emphasized what he called practicality, flexibility, speed, and efficiency. He called it a style with no style, right? It was all about weight training, running, and stretching. This is a guy who went much further with martial arts, and this is to quote Bruce Lee, he said, "Training is one of the most neglected phases of athletes." And now think about this. The most neglected, if you got to train constantly, right? Too much time is given to the development of skill and too little to the development of the individual for participation. Jeet Kune Do ultimately is not a matter of petty techniques, he said, but it's highly developed spirituality and physique. So he's talking about spiritually connecting to the physical aspect of your body, okay? His chosen method of self-expression was martial arts. Now, we know that he died accidentally, or who knows, but it was by misadventure, they classified it. It was an acute cerebral edema, basically of brain swelling. Not sure why, but he died at the young age of 32. That was on July 20th, 1973. So rest in peace, Bruce Lee, one of the greatest. And on that note, all right, let's go on this day in history. Like to do this? Yeah, checking it out. We're going to stay within 20 minutes today, folks. So in 1910, New York City's Penn Station opened as the world's largest railway terminal. If you haven't been through Penn Station, everyone's been through Penn Station. I remember that when I was living in New York for 12 years. Used to go home for the holidays. You got to go through Penn Station. That opened up on this day in 1910. In 1924, how about this? The first Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Yeah, that premiered in New York in 1924. And everyone knows that starts at 34th Street, Herald Square, goes up 6th Avenue. It hits the park, goes over to Central Park West, all the way up to 77th Street. How do I know that? I know it well. Try crossing that street. I remember going home for the holidays. I had to cross the street, which is impossible because they got all the balloons, the classics, the characters, everybody knows, musical performances. It's awesome. If you haven't seen the parade, you can watch it on TV, of course, and it's the 87th this year, so check it out. Macy's Day Parade. Here you go. 1960, ice hockey legend Gordie Howe. He was the first NHL, right, hockey, to score 1,000 points. And what's ironic is 1 year later, in 1961, he became the first person to play in 1,000 games. So, way to go, Gordie Howe. In 1966, the highest scoring NFL game was played between the Washington Redskins defeated the New York Giants 72-41. What kind of score is that? And in 1990, I remember this, British Conservative Party chose John Major over Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister. Everybody knows that. Rest in peace to the Iron Lady. Great movie, by the way, with Meryl Streep, won 2 Oscars. She won the Oscar for that, for the Best Actress in 2011. We know that. And now flash forward, speaking of 2 Oscars, in 2013, just last year, Frozen, right? The highest grossing animated film of all time premiered on this day. It also won 2 Oscars, one for Best Animated Film. Go check it out. That was 2014. But again, that was last year. So there you go. And on that note, let's give out the Get Your Shit Together Award, because every day we give out the Get Your Shit Together Award. Get Your Shit Together is for someone who really needs to get their shit together in some aspect of their life based on the 30 episode podcast that I did of the same name, GYST. So who are we going to give this to? Because this I've been talking about all week, and it's totally ridiculous to me. You're talking 6 people. We're going back to New York City to the parade, okay? This you should never do, people, right? You got to slap these people in the face or knock them upside the head for sure. But 6 people were arrested today in New York City. Why? Because they attempted to disrupt the parade, right? New York, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, an event for children, families, thousands of people line the streets, okay? They're doing this in retaliation for the Ferguson. I mean, everything is going on in Ferguson, Missouri, what happened with the cop and the, that's all nonsense, people. You shouldn't be striking out. We talked about that recently. Don't be destructive. You got to be constructive, okay? So police arrested them after they threw an object from a building on the parade route. You can't be doing that. You're going to affect other people. So if people are doing that, they should be arrested. They should be thrown in jail, and they should be whacked upside the head, without a doubt. That's what you got to do. You got to kind of strike back to these people because they're going to hurt people. You can't be hurting people. Well, the reality is we don't want to inflict harm on other people. So, of course, whack them upside the head. Yeah, but you know what? I'm an old-time Sicilian guy. So what? Hey, guess what, people? Don't be doing that. You got to get your shit together. You got to be thinking of your fellow man. We talk about that all the time, especially children. What, are you going to hurt somebody because you want to strike back? And they tweeted this out. They tweeted this out that they were going to do this. So I hope the police keep them locked up, make them spend thousands of dollars to get out of that. Maybe show them, prove them a lesson. You shouldn't be doing that. Anyone, you want to protest, do it calmly. Violence is never the way to go. There you go. On that note, let's move on. Something more exciting. 16 1621. I mean, how many years ago was that? Many moons ago. Our national holiday, right, really stems from the feast that occurred in 1621, or so it's believed, by the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Indians, right, to celebrate the colony's first harvest. Now, they arrived, I think it was about 10 months prior, but this Thanksgiving was a federal holiday. We know that in 1941 it was established as a federal holiday to occur on the fourth Thursday in November. Now we know in Canada it's a little bit earlier. We know it's in October, right? The first Monday. So they may have celebrated already. We're celebrated today. But 10 months after the arrival in Plymouth, right? That's now Massachusetts. So when the first Pilgrims arrived, they did hit Mass. They built 7 houses, a common meeting place, and 3 storehouses for the supplies and foods that they kind of assembled from their first harvest, right? Got to be thankful because they survived the harsh winter. They didn't know how harsh it was going to be. And then when they survived, they're like, wow, let's be thankful. So they met basically to have this event in 1621. But back then, if you wanted to cook meat, you had to go shoot it yourself, of course. And since waterfowl was plentiful in that area, in the Bay Area, ducks were probably served on Thanksgiving, probably not turkey. And most likely, they said that the women roasted the ducks, right, for a while the children pitched in by grinding corn. They basically turned corn into a kind of porridge or a corn-based oatmeal. Right, and the Pilgrims, they said that they wouldn't have survived without the Indians, the Wampanoags, so it was very fitting that they joined in on the celebration. And they also believed that the Indians brought deer, venison, deer meat, which I've tried in the past. It's it's definitely tasty, but it definitely tastes like deer meat, whatever that tastes like. You got to check it out, venison. So the Indians brought deer, and they said there was only one written account of this first Thanksgiving, and a turkey is not mentioned whatsoever. And cranberry sauce mashed potatoes wasn't even invented. So, hey, that's my favorite. Cranberry sauce, well, probably wasn't there. But what they do say is, most likely, seafood, cabbage, onions, corn, squash, and of course, duck and venison. Yeah, the feast of 1692, they said it wasn't really a big one sit-down feast. It was something that took place throughout the week. It was a whole week-long celebration. Talk about celebrating Black Friday for the week. Well, be cool to be celebrating all week, but I don't know about all those calories. We talked about that in a previous show. But here's the good news. They made it such an amazing event that between the meals, right, they said the Pilgrims and the Wampanoags played games. They played all sorts of games. They played a pin game, which was with a, where they throw it onto a pin, like a sort of a circular pin, a ring onto the pin. They played blind man's bluff. The kids played blind man's bluff. And they said that most of the men, the adults, were doing target shooting with their muskets, right? And they also were singing and dancing. So this was a big, jolly event. And they definitely this together, the Indians and the Pilgrims made it work. And they truly believed that we wouldn't have survived without their help. Now, let me read you this. This is from a young girl, Lizzie, who writes, so I'm going to just quote it from a letter that she wrote to her Aunt Constance. She said, "To celebrate our first harvest, our governor, Master Bradford, called for a celebration. 4 men went hunting wildfowl and brought back enough geese, ducks, and other birds to last nearly a week. We ate, played at games, and the men practiced shooting their muskets. The Indians came amongst us as well. And they said, among their greatest king, Massasoit, and more than 90 men. I was most frightened at first, but they stayed for 3 days, and we entertained and feasted them. And they went out and brought us 5 deer. There you go, with the venison. While they were here, I even saw some of their children. One boy, father says he thinks that his name was Pometacomet, threw a ball to me. Of course, he could not speak English, and I could not speak the Indian tongue." She goes on to write a little bit more, and then she finally says, "Dearest Aunt Constance, I truly hope that you will come to join us in New Plymouth. I pray that soon we will be a thriving town. Your loving niece, Lizzie." Well, talk about a thriving town, Lizzie. I mean, we've been thriving for hundreds of years, 350 plus, 400 years, whatever, plus that since you've been. So, hey, thank you so much for the first celebration, to setting the standard for everyone to get together with their family and loved ones. I hope you're having an amazing day, people, right? Be safe, be happy, be jolly. Don't overeat. If you do overeat, you got to hit the gym tomorrow. I know it's Black Friday, but you got to get your butt back into the gym and enjoy. So that's our show for today, folks. I mean, I guess I'm keeping this really short and sweet, even in 15 minutes. But that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, stay with your loved ones. Have a good time. Whatever you're doing, enjoy. And I'm Rich Tola. And remember, dreams do come true. But hey, what do I know?